Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram. Jai Shri Ram, Jai Siya Ram.
Okay.
You know, Chetan and I have never done this before.
That's right.
So it's great fun.
So, you've written a whole Rama series and you've been doing mythology. That's from the very beginning. And today, especially like during the temple inauguration, the whole country was in a frenzy almost when that was happening. How was that for you?
Actually, my wife and I, Shivani, she's here, we were lucky to actually be in Ayodhya on the 22nd, and it was truly a wonderful experience. We've produced a documentary on the temple, on the Ram Janmabhoomi Ji temple. It is the story of the temple from the beginning, from the birth of Lord Ram till now. I think the things that one learned through the journey of that, one of the people we interviewed for that documentary was K.K. Mohammed Saab. I'm sure many of you would have heard of K.K. Mohammed, a legendary historian and archaeologist. And he made this wonderful statement while we were recording him. He said that this is actually not a Hindu-Muslim issue. It's an Indian foreigner issue. Because Babar was from Uzbekistan. And he said, I'm an Indian Muslim. What do I have to do with him? And I thought that was a very beautiful way of looking at it.
So you're saying like the Mughals weren't...
We call the Mughals Mughals. They call themselves Temurid. They were Turks.
Okay.
They didn't look like Prithviraj Kapoor or
No?
Hrithik Roshan. No. To us, they would have looked Chinese. But they were actually from Central Asia, from the steppe lands.
And Jodha didn't look like Aishwarya Rai?
Jodha. No, that quite likely they would have.
Okay.
Cholas are very much Indian.
No, Jodha in Jodha Akbar, when you talked of Hrithik looking like Akbar, I thought, did Jodha look like Aishwarya Rai or
Okay,
not?
this is turning into a full history thing, but because there are questions on whether Emperor Akbar's wife was actually Jodha. There are those who say it was probably Harkal Bai. Remember, the name Jodha comes from Jodhpur, but she was supposed to be the daughter of the king of Amer. So
we'll have to get
that was probably cinematic license.
We'll have to get Ashutosh Gowarikar here next time. Let's not get into specific movies. Your interest in mythology, it was there from the very beginning? Because from me, I think I was like the typical 90s kid. For us, there were two references for the Ramayana, at least for me. One, we had a book in school, Hindi book, which was rectangular shape. There was only one book which was, like normally books are...
Which school taught the Ramayana?
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
It was the Ramayana.
Okay.
We studied it in school,
Wow,
in Army Public School in Delhi. All books are rectangles. I take that back. But what we call today landscape mode.
Right.
It was in landscape mode, and I read about the Ramayana there. And then after that, it was the serial. Arun Govil. That was, we all understood about the whole story and everything, and that was it. But for you, obviously, mythology holds a lot bigger meaning, because I know when you write a book on something, you need to be very involved with it. And you've written book after book after book about Indian mythology, well before it became, I don't know, I wouldn't say trendy, but as mainstream as it is now. Was it always an interest?
Yeah, it always was. So I grew up in a very religious, very traditional family. My paternal grandfather was a pandit in Varanasi, at Vishwanathji.
Like a priest?
Yeah.
Okay.
He could do the Pran Pratishtha Puja, actually. And he was also a teacher at BHU, Banaras Hindu University. My maternal grandmother was also a teacher. My parents studied in the Hindi medium, but they wanted to send, there are four of us siblings, they wanted us to go to schools that were way beyond their income and social class. So we went to Cathedral and John Convent School in Mumbai. I had friends whose shoes cost more than my father's salary. And then I went to all of us, we went to different colleges. I went to Xavier's College, and then MBA from IIM Calcutta. I think we were in the same batch. You were A, I was C. So actually, we had, in a way, both worlds. At home, it was completely traditional, but at the school and college, it was what you'd call modern India.
Okay.
So we are the best of both worlds.
नेक्स्ट लेवल के सवालों पे जाते हैं.
Okay.
क्योंकि ये टॉपिक
ठीक है.
राम राज्य की बात हो रही है. ठीक है, हिंदी में भी बात कर सकते हैं. ABP तो वैसे ही.
कोई कठिनाई नहीं.
So राम राज्य, मेरे को बात बताइए, टू अ ले पर्सन और टू अ यंग पर्सन जिसने मतलब पहली बार या ज़्यादा नहीं सुना इस कॉन्सेप्ट को, राम राज्य को, दो इंटरप्रिटेशंस हो सकते हैं. एक तो ये कि राम राज्य इज द आइडियल गवर्नेंस, लाइक आइडियल, जैसे क्योंकि राम इज एसोसिएटेड आइडियल, सो राम राज्य है, लाइक इट इज कॉमनली यूज्ड एक्सप्रेशन कि इट्स लाइक परफेक्ट, इट्स द बेस्ट टाइम्स, इट वाज द बेस्ट टाइम, एवरीथिंग इज बीन गवर्नड रियली वेल, एवरीबडी इज ऑनेस्ट, देयर इज नो करप्शन, दैट्स राम राज्य. But Ram Rajya can literally also mean there is a king called Ram. And it's his kingdom. The whole fight was for the kingdom. That's the Ramayana story. तो आपके लिए राम राज्य है क्या? Like what does, let's first understand, before we say कि is Ram Rajya the ideal thing, what is Ram Rajya? How should a person who's not written mythology books or who's not an expert in the subject, how do they understand it?
Okay, so pop quiz for all of you. How many of you have actually read any of the versions of the Ramayana? Outside of in the television series. Anyone else here?
NCRT.
NCRT. Okay, that's a summary. In which one have you read? Valmiki Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas, Kamba Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas? In any of the versions that you've read, has Ram Rajya been described in detail? Yeah? Anyone? Isn't that kind of interesting? Okay? It's one of the things I noticed.
So the people on TV
actually,
cannot see
for
it?
people on TV didn't see it. Most of them said no.
Okay.
It's actually not been described in detail. Most of the Ramayana versions that are written, from the original Valmiki Ramayana to the Ramcharitmanas, Kamba Ramayana, actually chronicles the journey of Lord Ram. Ramayana, the word itself means the journey of Ram, right? And it's kind of intriguing because, and of course, you find differences. Lakshman Rekha is not there in the original Valmiki Ramayana, for example. But the Ram Rajya itself is actually not discussed in so much detail, right? It's discussed in other texts, like the Yog Vashisht, for example, which is a pure philosophical text. And I found this interesting because much of the discussions of the Ram Rajya actually happen in other texts. I think the Ramayana actually tells us what creates the kind of leader who can build a Ram Rajya, right? A leader who goes through personal suffering but still reacts to it in a positive way. Ravan went through personal suffering and his reaction was, the world hurt me, I will freaking burn the world down, right? Whereas Lord Ram's reaction was, the world hurt me, but I will still behave with nobility. I will give to the world what the world didn't give to me. I will give nobility, I'll give honor, I'll give grace, even if the world didn't behave with me that way. That leads to the kind of leader, right? I have a theory that maybe there are various different versions of the Ram Rajya because we are supposed to make up our own interpretation of what Ram Rajya should be. And there are various texts which explore this, right?
What is it for you?
For me, there's this lovely Sanskrit line which I put actually in one of my books. Rama Raja Vasitvam Prochra Yasvat. I'll translate, don't worry.
Please.
Prochra Yasvate Shiram Nyayartham Yudhyasva Sarveshu Samamchara Paripalay Durbalam Viddhi Dharmam Varam Prochra Yasvate Shiram Rama Raja Vasitvam. What translates as, you live in the kingdom of Ram. Hold your head high. Protect the weak. Know that dharma is above all. Fight for justice. Treat all as equal. Hold your head high. You live in the kingdom of Ram. To me, this encapsulates a beautiful way of looking at what Ram Rajya should be. Treat all as equal. Fight for justice. Protect the weak. Know that dharma is not religion. Dharma is beyond religion, right? Dharma is what's the right way to be. These are the philosophical discussions that our ancestors had. Many kings used to claim to be following the path of Ram. So the Vijayanagar emperors or the Cholas or many others would say that the Mauryas, the Guptas, they would speak of Ram Rajya as a concept. They would speak of what his principles would be. So it was actually symbolic in a way.
So it's concept. It's not literal. There is a king and a kingdom and a monarchy. It's not like that. When we say
And if you're asking...
Because we say Ram Ram, when we say Ram Ram, it means, are you well? Like, it's a sign of good. So, because that word is also used to describe something good. So, good times, Ram Rajya, अच्छा राज्य हो रहा.
It's what a ideal society, an ideal state should be. And our ancestors never said that this is the only way. If you don't follow this, you'll burn in hell for eternity. No. Every age has its own conception of what ideal should be. And every person has their own conception of what the ideal should be, right? And we have the freedom to discover that.
Right. There is this whole, it's more a philosophy which has been there in many parts of the world, that the state and church, it used to be state and church, but broadly speaking, state and religion should be separate.
That's a Western concept. It's because actually...
There is a concept, whether it's West, East...
I'll tell you where that emerged from. Because actually in the West, the church did actually start interfering in the temporal world.
Yes.
Right? In India, that was never so. So India, actually, the temples always served its own purpose. The king served its own purpose, his own or her own purpose. We had queens who rolled in their own name. And the educational institutions also had their own independent purpose. And they all had independent power. We never had this thing, this guy is the absolute ruler, and you need to have that. Like you'll notice in India, you don't need to be an atheist to prove that you're scientific. It was never a concept in India, right? Because we didn't have this dichotomies that you have to give up this to be this. That you have to hate another country to prove your patriotism. You have to hate all other religions to prove that you love your own religion. We never had those concepts. Loving something doesn't automatically mean I have to hate something else. I'm a Lord Shiva worshipper. That doesn't mean I have to hate other gods or goddesses or other religions. Our way never said that. Right? So you didn't need that separation. You'll notice in the West, for example, many scientists, I'd spoken at the Oxford Union recently, the Oxford Union debate. And we were debating on God, actually. And I obviously spoke on the side of God, from the Hindu way of life. We actually won the debate in a place like Oxford. Oxford is a kind of place where JNU is a dangerous right-wing university, right? And we actually won the debate out there. And the point I made was actually, you don't have a problem with the concept of God when the foundation of it is that you have to hate anything which questions God. Where does the problem with science come? Right? That if science allows you to question your God, but in our way, there's no problem. Question. We have no translation for the English word blasphemy in Vedic Sanskrit. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna tells Arjun in the 18th chapter, I've given you knowledge most profound. Now think about it and do what you think is right. We are not just allowed to question, we are encouraged to question the divine himself or herself. Right?
Yeah.
So then this thing of this separation is not really needed.
So I'll tell you where it's coming from, and where it gets a little confusing. कहाँ पे थोड़ा confusion हो जाता है. We have laws, we have a constitution. Now, religion influences society. Society के समाज को देख के laws बनते हैं. Each society has its own laws, and they make their own laws and constitution, and which laws and constitution make up a state. So in some ways, that's one way to look at it. Religion to society, society to laws, laws to state. That means they are linked. And you are saying there is nothing wrong in religion and state being linked. Do you not see any how should we make our laws? How should we make a constitution? Should we therefore then derive from religion? Should we make them independently with legal experts keeping interests of justice, equality, freedoms? Rights? Should it be done on that basis? Or we have excellent texts from the past, wohi use karke we can make. I'm not judging. I'm just saying.
Sure. So look, I'm sure many have heard of Acharya Chanakya out here. Anyone has read Arthashastra or Chanakya Niti? Anyone? Damn. Oh, one person. Who read? Someone raised their hand out there. Okay. This should be a part of our education system, right? The Arthashastra or the Chanakya Niti. There are, in our traditional way, and the Mauryan Empire was the largest Indian empire ever. There are two types of states. One is the Chanakyan state, and the other is the Ashokan state. The Chanakyan state was a minimal but very effective state. So it would do a few things It wasn't a libertarian state. It wasn't that I would give up everything. No. It would enforce its will, but only on a few things, right? And the rest, it left to society. Why? Because their concept, Chanakya's concept was, if the state starts interfering in too many things, you naturally end up having chaos, right? Because some things should be left to society. The Ashokan state actually was the exact opposite. That it would be an expansionary state. It would interfere in many things. The first Indian state that tried to promote vegetarianism, for example, was actually the Ashokan state, right? I am a believer that we should have a Chanakyan state, okay? Like a few things, law and order. Like we have vigilantism, people breaking things. Boss, the Chanakyan state would come down on them like a ton of bricks, right? Infrastructure, regulating trade, it wouldn't get moralizing. So the Chanakyan state, for example, allowed even prostitution, but regulated it, right? But it would do a few things, do it well, leave the rest to society, right? The Ashokan state would interfere in too many things. What that does makes the state weak because it cannot do its core jobs effectively because it's too distracted. Even more importantly, what Chanakya said rightly, Chanakya had a fundamental suspicion of the state. He said you cannot control corruption in the state. And he'd actually used a very interesting line. He said trying to control corruption in bureaucrats is like trying to control how much water a fish drinks while breathing. He said there's no way you can know, right? So the only thing to do is keep it as small as possible so they have fewer opportunities, right? I would argue we don't have a Chanakyan state. We actually have an Ashokan state. It interferes in too many things which is none of its business, right? And doesn't do its core things properly. That's the kind of state we need to have. And things which should be left to society, like who I want to marry or what I want to eat, that's society's job, yeah? And if I want to, there's a Prevention of Superstition Act in Maharashtra, okay? You can argue whether it's good or bad. But if I want to do it, then I should do it the old Indian way, which is go village to village, talk and convince people. It's harder work, right? I shouldn't have the right to go convince some bureaucrat or the court and mandate it down. Because then the state is getting involved in things which is none of its business. Interestingly, among the things that are discussed in the Ramcharitmanas for what state taxation policies would be, is very similar to this. Keep the state minimal. So actually, one of the things, who said Ramcharitmanas out here? One of the things that was discussed was actually the state should not tax too much. The state should tax a bit like a bee taking honey from a flower. Does it just about right for what the bee needs and leave the flower alone. That is actually the traditional Indian way.
Okay.
Which is not what our present state is.
I love tradition, and when I got married, I wanted it to be as traditional as possible. I celebrate festivals. So I love tradition. But tell me one thing, and again, it's because it's a forum of thoughts and ideas. Is something of higher value just because it's old? Because this is how it used to be. This is how kingdoms were run then. So that's better. Or should we modernize based on what we've learned now? There were things like the caste system. There were things like sati, which were pretty much put down. Now that's, you could say, it's tradition, right? But we realized that it's not causing good to society. In fact, causing a lot of harm, and we reformed. So how do you make a society where there is reform possible, but there is also no, people who are reforming are not seen as disrespecting tradition. It doesn't mean that we are like trying to say that, this is all bad. But at the same time, we, like how do you keep that balance? And is it good because it's old? And how old should it be?
There's this wonderful line I'd read somewhere. Traditions that last are experiments that worked, right? So if a tradition is still serving some purpose right now, then perhaps there's some value. That doesn't mean you respect all traditions. There are some traditions which should be questioned, like the caste system, right? I openly question the caste system. On my book covers, I don't even use my surname. And you know why I don't do that? Because it's a caste surname, right? It's my own small statement against the caste system. I speak against the caste system through all of my books. right?
But it's there in our...
You can, do you find any controversy? You can Google, you won't find any controversies around me, right? Because I say this, but I say it in a polite way. I say it in a way that doesn't generate controversy. So should some traditions be questioned? Of course, yes, right? The key point is how you question it. You can question the caste system by using our ancient scriptures, which didn't have the caste. We didn't have caste, by the way.
So you go even more old.
Prior to 6th, 7th century,
we didn't have it.
No.
You probably know better. I really don't know.
It wasn't fixed. It wasn't hardwired, right? And in fact, Dr. Ambedkar himself wrote it in his book, Who Were the Shudras, right? From textual evidence that perhaps wasn't rigid at all. Now you can use this to question. You can, if you want to speak of transgenders, for example, you can either use some American or Western example, which people may not like, or you can quote a wonderful example. The one who spoke of Ramcharitmanas will recognize this. There's this wonderful line, Purush napunsak nari, va jiva charachar koi, sarv bhav bhaja kapat taji, mohi param priya soi. Any man, any woman, any transgender, any living being, any plant, any animal, you give up deceit, love each other, come to me, and you're my people. Who said this? Anyone wants to take a guess? You want to take a guess? Who said this?
No.
Who said this? It's a liberal line. Any man, any woman, any transgender, any living being, any plant, any animal. Give up deceit, love each other, come to me, you're my people. Who said it? Any ideas? Doesn't look like it. Can you want to guess?
I will be wrong, so I will not guess.
Lord Ram.
I would have guessed that, believe
Lord
it or not.
Ram, you would have guessed it.
I would have.
Lord
That would
Ram
have
said
been
this.
a pure guess, though.
Okay. Now, if you fight for transgender rights by quoting Lord Ram, why should there be any controversy, right? The same thing can be done in a polite way.
So you are saying for every reform, there is something in our text that you will find.
You can find it.
You will find some
They're
supporting evidence. There is also another question. There is a belief that religion is a private matter. Some people believe that. Again, there's no right. It's a private matter. Like we pray at home, we do celebrate festivals. It's not a public thing you wear out there in public. Whereas there are those who believe, this is who I am, this is my religion, I'm very proud of it. Why should I not display it? Why should I not, publicly celebrate it? I'm not again judging. They are both theories which different people believe in. Where do you put this? Because is making religion something, a public display of religion, has it got its pros and cons, or where in the spectrum are you?
Again, this religion is a private matter, again, comes from the West. And it comes from, that thing that you said of separation of church and state. This again becomes important when I feel that me being proud of my religion means I need to force it on you. I need to convert you, or I need to... If you don't have that attitude, then what difference does it make?
Well,
in India, religion has usually not been a private matter. We celebrate it publicly. Festivals are celebrated publicly. Much of our art is actually around religious figures. And it doesn't cause dissonance because we're not trying to force our religion on anyone else. And in fact, the beauty of the Indian way is that we will celebrate the religion of others openly, right? So I lived in London for 4.5 years. I gave this example of that in my puja room at home. Of course I have a murti of Lord Shiva, right, in the center. And I have murtis of other gods and goddesses, Lord Ram, Sita Ma, Kali Ma, all of them. But I have marks and symbols of other faiths as well. My wife is a Jain, so we have Rishabdev and Mahavir Ji. We have Guru Nanak Dev, we have Gautam Buddha, we have a Star of David, we have a lovely Byzantine painting of Jesus Christ, Mother Mary, we have the Kaaba. We have all of this in our puja room. Now, even in a place like the UK, which you think is liberal, people found it odd. But what religion are you following? If I say this in India, no one finds it odd, right? Because it's natural in our way, right? We don't just tolerate each other, we actively embrace each other. Then in this, why do I need to keep my religion? I wear my religion literally on my sleeve. I wear an Om Namah Shivaya Kada. I wear a Rudraksh Mala.
I guess the issue can come if you're one country and that national identity something becomes above that national identity, which is your religious identity. And if if it's especially a country with multiple religions, then it can cause some divisions.
No, the country has to be above everything else. That is clear. Desh sarvopari. That I think has to be very, very clear.
Okay.
Country above everything else.
Okay. Okay.
Let me quote Lord Ram again.
Yes.
Janani janbhumischa swargadapi garyasi. Mother and motherland are greater than heaven.
Okay.
Lord Ram said this.
Okay, that's nice. What about politics and religion? It's inevitable. I think it is inevitable because politics mirrors society. That's my personal view. If people care about religion above everything else, then I think as a politician, it almost becomes your job to kind of respond to that in some way, right? You can't just say, because you are representative of people. So I think it's a mix of what society wants. But at the same time, are there any downsides of politics mixing in religion?
Yeah, I normally don't comment on politics.
I'm talking a generic concept. I'm not talking specific.
But look, at a broad level, will religious symbolism be used in politics? It happens in every country. I lived in the UK. King Charles was just anointed king. And the scepter, if I'm not mistaken, actually was anointed with waters of the Church of Holy Sepulchre, right, from Jerusalem. There are bishops who are members of the House of Lords, their equivalent of the Rajya Sabha. They give rights to all other religions, but at their core they are, and many of their senior leaders do actually celebrate their Christian roots, which is fair. Barack Obama, when he took...
I'm not saying that politicians should not follow a religion. They should. I'm saying when it becomes a part of their campaign.
They celebrate it publicly. Now, that's the point I'm making. They celebrate it publicly, right? Which is okay.
Okay.
Right? But if it's used to create divisions, then it's not okay.
Okay.
Right?
Fair enough.
But celebrating your religion publicly, this is done in every and all liberal countries as well. UK, US.
Well, the UK
everywhere.
has elected a Hindu prime minister.
Who read from the Corinthian in the Bible for the anointment of, in the crowning of King Charles. So, like I said, the roots were, and there's nothing wrong. I'm not belittling that. That's good, right? Because it doesn't mean that just because they are celebrating a religion that they are hating another religion. That's where one should draw the line. This thing that all politicians have to give up a public celebration of their religion is usually imposed in Marxist countries, where I would argue Marxism itself behaves like a religion, actually, like a jealous religion. So all other religions have to be removed.
Nothing is allowed. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I guess, anything else you want to say about...
and if you have time, if you have some questions from the audience, happy to answer.
We have time for one question, maybe. Anybody has a question? Keep it short, because we literally have 1 minute. Yes, sir, raised his hand first. So,
if there's a mic that can go around, I'll be happy to answer.
Hi, this is Ajay Mittal here. I just wanted to ask, there is a bit of a controversy whether Uttar Ramayana was actually part of Ramayana, because some of the characteristics of Rama demonstrated there were in conflict with what was there in the rest of the Ramayana. What is your view on that?
Good question. You really know your stuff. Yes, there are scholars who say Uttarkhand is probably not a part of the original Valmiki Ramayana. One of the key things is actually the meter changes. I'm sure you're aware all Sanskrit poetry was in a particular meter. So I think I would agree that perhaps Uttarkhand is not a part of the original Ramayana, later interpolation. But who can be sure, man? This is something for the scholars.
Yeah. I think we don't have time. Amish,
okay.
You've been fabulous. You didn't avoid or dodge any question. You gave deep insights and knowledge. And I think I learned a lot today. So once again, Jai Shri Ram, and thank you for coming.
Jai Shri Ram, Jai Shri Ram.
Ideas of India, ये है Ideas of India.
ABP Network's Ideas of India.